Hey, sports cards fans, Ray from Philly here on this Wednesday night, December 23rd, and welcome back to another episode of Sports Card Talk. Tonight, this is episode number 15, and we're going to have a special guest on tonight. We're going to have on John, also known as Wade Boggs fan, but first I want to introduce my co-host, Mike, This Baseball Card Life. Mike, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Ray. Great to be back with you again.
Thanks. That's just awesome. And we're joined now you see down below, we have John, also known as Wade Boggs fan. John is a super collector of Wade Boggs memorabilia and baseball cards. We're going to have his link down below on the show to check his channel out. His room is stellar. It's phenomenal. His collection is great. It's really breathtaking. You have to check it out. So first of all, John, thanks for being on tonight. We really appreciate it, buddy.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Ray and Mike. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem, man. So, we're going to get right to it. We're going to get to some questions here and have some fun. Take a look at some of your stuff. I mean, I'm looking behind you, and it's just, I look behind me in Mike's room and we're like, Jesus, God. Man,
well, this is 20 years in the making back here.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still just great. I mean, it's just, I love it. Absolutely love it. So, yeah, we'll get right to the questions. Mike, why don't you head us off, buddy? Let's go.
Yeah. So when did you start collecting baseball cards? And I see memorabilia there in the background.
Yeah. I started, the first cards I used to get out of packs was way back in 1978, dating myself a little bit. But then I started collecting Boggs. There's a long story involved there, but probably around 97, 98. Right when eBay was getting started, and that's what exploded my player collection there. Mm-hmm. And in terms of the memorabilia you see behind me, I always had a few pieces here and there, but it wasn't until I met a fellow Wade Boggs collector around 2012. And he was more on the memorabilia side. He had cards as well, but I had more cards. And just through interaction, he's now picked up more cards and I've picked up more memorabilia. Just because seeing all the cool stuff he has, I've gone out and looked for stuff. So it's been more recent that I've built that up, but my cards go back to probably 97 or 98. I started focusing on Wade. Nice.
Cool.
How did you get started in collecting just Wade Boggs? Like, when did that start initially? I know you started collecting before that, but how many years in the making has that been just for that?
Yeah, it's been, well, it'd be 22, 23 years now, around that 97, 90, 98 time period. Prior to that, if you had collected cards at any time from the late to mid 90s, you knew that it wasn't just Topps. It was Topps and Score and Upper Deck, and I mean there were like 5 or 6 card companies. It wasn't the junk era in which Topps just made millions of one card, but it was multiple companies putting out so many different sets. So the production may have been down, but the total volume of cards was just, and I really never had a focus. It was a little bit on complete sets. But the more I saw coming out, more products, I'm like, well, I can't buy that. I can't buy that set, and I can't buy that set and that set. So I said, something has to give. I need a focus.
Right.
And so I knew there were people out there that collected either a certain team or a certain player. So I went through my collection and looked for players who I had a lot of cards of. And I think at the time, I probably had maybe 200 or 300 cards of Wade Boggs. Now, I was always a Red Sox fan. My mom's originally from Massachusetts. And so I always rooted for the Red Sox. So I'm like, okay, hey, here's a great hitter. And I was always more impressed by a player who could hit for average, get on base, lots of walks, not as many strikeouts. Someone who doesn't go up to the plate and just try to clobber the ball and see how far he can hit a home run. That's just me, that I find that's just more interesting.
Right.
And so he definitely had all those things. I mean, I think I was looking up some stats here. Boggs had a career on base percentage of .415. And in 1988, he had an on base percentage of .476. Now, I know a couple of years Bonds had some ridiculously high on-base percentage. They were intentionally walking him all the time.
Right.
Ted Williams, I think, has the career record for on-base percent, something really. But Boggs is up there,
Right.
and I think he still owns the record, I think, of 7 straight seasons of 200 hits and 100 walks, at least 200 hits and at least 100 runs scored. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So, he got on base, he scored runs for his team. And to me, that and the 5 batting titles and all that stuff. So that's what got me into Wade Boggs.
Right.
So, and then I met him and turns out to be a great guy. So that's just even better. So.
Icing on the cake.
Yeah. That was kind of the leading into the next question about, when have you met him? Is he a jerk? Is he a nice guy? Sometimes, you don't want to meet your heroes because maybe they'll blow you off. Or
I've heard stories about that. I won't get into the specific players' names, but that they idolized this player and they got to see him at a card show or in passing or at the stadium, and they were rude or obnoxious or whatever, and they're like, I had this guy on a pedestal, and now he's a bit of a jerk and stuff. No, quite the opposite with Wade. I mean, he truly appreciates his fans that want to buy his autographs or cards or different things, or want to meet with him, shake his hand. He's truly appreciative. And I've met him 6 times, twice at the National in 2015 and last year, 2019. And then I live in central Pennsylvania, and he goes to a Yankee Palooza event in northern New Jersey pretty much every year. And I've seen him. That's a short trip for me. So I've seen him there 4 times. So I've got to meet Wade 6 times in person, and we follow each other on Twitter. We correspond every now and then. I mean, I can't say I'm best friends with him or anything like that, but at least he knows who I am. When he sees me at one of the shows, he points out to some of his handlers, "Hey, here's one of my biggest fans." So that's really cool.
That's awesome.
He recognizes me as one of his. Now, I'm not his #1 fan. I have to give that to someone else. He's just over the top crazy, but he's a great guy. And so I think maybe I'm #2 or something like that, and it was just fine with me. So
yeah. And it kind of makes me wonder what these stars think of their fans that way. Like, okay, you meet them, shake your hand, and they're really surprised to meet Wade, but then if he saw this video and saw the, all the memorabilia and the cards and, all that stuff, it's like, hopefully he doesn't think you're like a stalker or somebody nuts, with the screw loose.
Actually, the joke with that other super collector, the real joke is, and he admits it, his family, and we're Facebook friends and stuff with some of his family and stuff. But the joke is, if Wade ever disappears, we know where to find him, and it's just outside of Chicago, Illinois, where my one friend lives. And yet, sure enough, he'll be tied up in the basement. Now, everyone jokes about it,
That's great. You say you're from Pennsylvania, right? Yep. So, how long you been a Red Sox fan?
Well, my team allegiances that have always been Red Sox, because like I said, I grew up, even though I grew up in Pennsylvania, my mom's from Massachusetts. So whenever we would go to visit my grandparents, they'd have the Red Sox on the TV and things like that. I've been to Fenway Park a few times. So I've always followed them, but I also follow my National League team, or the Mets. Okay. And I know, sorry, Ray, I know you're a big Phillies fan, but I don't know what it is. I've grown up central Pennsylvania, and I don't really root for any Pennsylvania teams. I don't know why. But I started following the Mets around 83, 84 when Strawberry and Carter and started getting on the team, started building a nucleus. Then they got some of those rookies in, and then 86 and all that stuff. 86 was a tough World Series for me. Red Sox teams, and I remember, I know this is sort of getting off topic here, but I remember that 86 World Series and Game 6 when the Red Sox were winning. I went downstairs in the basement to watch it because my mom was upstairs, obviously rooting for the Red Sox, and I was sort of leaning toward the Mets.
Right.
So I went down. I out of respect for my mom, I didn't want it, and actually when it got toward the end, I started going to bed. I was upstairs, And I heard my mom go, "Oh no." And I'm like, "What?" And then next batter, no. So it was when that they had the, I don't know if you remember the game, they had the string of hits, like it was 2 outs, but no one didn't want to make the third out. And it was base hit, base hit, base hit. And I was upstairs and I turned the TV on and I saw Mookie's hit. And I'm like, oh my God. I came downstairs and I'm like, Mom, I am so sorry. And she was ready to sell it. And yeah. That was a tough season, a great series, but tough series for
a classic series.
Like yeah.
That had to have been tough. You're a Red Sox fan and a Mets fan. And
well, I won either way.
Yeah.
Was it hard to see like Wade Boggs get his, one World Series in 96 with the Yankees and not with the Sox?
That with Wade, that is one of the biggest, I guess, bones of contention with fans, whether it be Red Sox fans and say, hey, he's a traitor. He went to the Yankees and he won a World Series. It's, oh yeah. But I know a bit of the backstory, the true story of why he went to the Yankees. And I'm just happy that he got a World Series trophy because I know, and again, this was before I started super collecting Wade Boggs in '86, how devastated he was. There was the video of him. I mean, he's just hunched over in the dugout, like crying that he was so close. So I love the fact that he got a World Series, and I don't care if it's with the Yankees.
Right.
So yeah, that doesn't bother me at all. I know some diehard Red Sox fans that think Wade went to the enemy and oh yeah, sure, you won a World Series there and all that stuff, but no, it doesn't bother me at all.
Besides Wade Boggs, have you thought of any other players to super collect, or are you? This is it. This is just going to be Wade Boggs.
Well, I have thought about it, but I have, as I'm sure all of us do, have a limited budget, and depending on who you collect, there's only so much money to spread around, and I've just this year through some of you guys' collections, vintage collection. I've always enjoyed and loved vintage cards. Ray, I know you're a big fan of vintage. Yeah. And so I've started, it's not a player collector, but another side collection of PSA graded vintage cards of like Hall of Famers. Yeah. So that already has taken some of my, funds and split things there. So now, especially, no, I wouldn't be looking at doing another player collector. Now, I have small collections of just buying cards. It's what I like to have more Mike Trout cards, or maybe some of the modern Ted Williams or Corey Yastrzemski, the modern issue cards. So, if I'm at a show, maybe I'll look in the dollar box or 50-cent box or whatever. And if I see some up, but not dedicated, like I'm searching eBay for a Mike Trout card or a Ted Williams card. Right. So I'm probably going to stay in my lane now of Wade Boggs and vintage, and we'll see. So. Right.
I saw you did a video where you bought a Ricky Henderson rookie. Beautiful card, by the way. That's my favorite set, is 1980 Topps. And doing a PSA Hall of Famer collection is a great idea. I mean, you can't go wrong with,
although I realize it's a marathon and not a sprint, especially when you're talking vintage, right? And it's hard because I'm getting a little, I don't want to say frustrated, but I wanted to try to focus. So I said, okay, let me start with the 79s and 80s and work my way to 78s and 77s. And so I'm sort of keeping in that ballpark rather than just jumping around and seeing what something's flashy, like a 63 card and a 72 card. And then but I'm finding for like some 78s and 79s, either the cards I'm looking for, there's not a high pop, not because they're rare, but because people just haven't graded them. They haven't graded. So they don't come up very much, or people are asking a fortune for them. And so I am starting now to start adding a few years on my watch list, looking at some 75s and 76s, because I'm not able to get some that are in my price range that I feel aren't overpriced. So starting and getting moving is I'm finding a little bit difficult, right? But I'm getting there and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Really
Yeah,
fun. When I get one of those vintage cards in the mail, I'm like, oh God, that's beautiful. I mean,
isn't that the best?
I don't the shine and stuff of these new parallels of the modern cards, they're cool. Don't get me there. But man, you hold a card that's 30, 40, 50, 60 in your hand. Like, I don't know. They're works of art. So.
Absolutely. That's how I look at it. So it's good to have a focus and be straight directed to, because once you start spreading out, you're all over the place, and then your budget goes from here to
right.
Believe me, I know. So
all right, so let's get kind of turned around here back to Wade Boggs for a moment. And like, how do you stay organized, like know what you have? Like if you have hundreds and hundreds of cards, like you can't remember every card that you have. So how does that kind of work? Do you have a giant spreadsheet or?
Yes, I have a spreadsheet that I started years ago. I think I got off of Beckett Online, and I created. So I started with Beckett, and that was probably in 2005, maybe a little bit later. And whenever I see some new release, where it usually pops up on eBay. Oh, this is new. Oh, the new 2020 something must have released. I go online, look up the checklist, and add it. My checklist now has over 10,000 entries. And so whenever I get a card, I mark it off, and then I have a software program that I actually designed myself. That I go in and enter the price I paid for it, and when I paid it, when I bought it, and serial numbers and stuff like that for insurance purposes. So it's a dual thing. So I actually had that spreadsheet on my phone. So when I'm checking eBay listings, if I go, ooh, I don't know if I have that one, switch over to my checklist. But, oh, no, I have it. Or, oh, no, I don't. So I am meticulous with my check, because I hate, and it's happened, I hate getting a card in the mail, going to my checklist and go,
and you already have it.
I already have it. Now, usually they're not high-priced cards.
Yeah.
But I just, because again, with limited funds, my goal is to get as many different cards as I can, not just amass Wade Boggs cards.
Well, that's a good idea to do that, because there's another super collector out there on YouTube named Nate, Tops 85401. And he claims a Barry Bonds super collector. And I saw that he has a database, I think, from Beckett. So that's a great idea. I think what you're doing is awesome to do that. Like, how many Boggs cards would you say you have so far?
I am approaching 5,200 different. And in total, I think I've crossed the 10,000 total. So I have some duplicates, and I have, I told you I'm looking for as many different cards. Well, I went on. I love the 1984 Topps card of Wade Boggs. It's just a classic with this follow through there. Yeah. And so I'm looking at the prices, and I'm seeing these lots for sale for 20 or 30 or 40. Fairly reasonable, because they're not. I mean, it's Wade Boggs' second year, but it's not like a $10 card, right? So I started buying a few lots here and there and here and there and here and there. So I'm like, okay. So I set a goal. I now own just over 1,000 1984 Topps Wade Boggs cards.
Wow.
I was like, okay, I've got to 400. Okay, I got 500 now. Now I'm like 1,000. Okay, I'm done. Let's move on to something else. But I have stacks of these plastic holders and stuff. Just, 1,000 of them.
So
that's cool.
Do you prefer his playing day cards over 2000 and on, or does it matter to you?
It doesn't matter, and the reason why it doesn't matter is he's been retired now for 21 years. I think 99 was the last year, and he's had more cards. Well, he's been retired for longer, but he's had more cards made since he's retired than during his playing days.
Isn't that something?
And during his playing days, there's ones I'm missing, of course, but there aren't as many. So it's pretty much the stuff that has been released after his playing days is stuff that I'm missing. So in terms of interest, I just have more to buy since he's been retired.
Is his 93 finest refractor, is that kind of like one of his most expensive cards, or like what's a high priced like playing age card?
Yeah, there are three. In fact, I had picked these out here.
Okay.
There are three sort of crown jewels. And this happens for a lot of player collectors, especially if they played around in the late 90s. Right. The first one, now this is the green version of the 98 Donruss Call to Arms, and that's out of 250. Then there's the purple out of 100. Looks blue there, but it's purple.
Right.
But this is the red. This is the one out of 25, and this is one of these don't come up on eBay very often, and I bought this one years ago for a lot less than what they go for now. But this is one of the crown jewels. At least I know for Boggs collectors, they want one of these. Then the other one is from 97 Pinnacle, totally certified platinum gold.
Beautiful.
That's out of 30. I think someone has one on eBay. It pops up now and then. It's a PSA graded or something like that. I forget how many hundreds of dollars they want for it, but it's
And what year is that, John? What year card is
from 97, I believe.
Okay.
And
So it was still playing then, right?
Yeah. Now, even though it shows him in a Yankees, well, yeah, 97 was the last year with the Yankees. 98 and 99, he played for Tampa Bay. The third card in the crown jewel, unfortunately, I don't have, and that's probably his most expensive card. It's 96 Select Mirror Gold. Those Mirror Golds, I think they're out of 30.
Yeah.
And man, I remember it was maybe about a year ago, less than a year ago, someone had a set or something, broke us. It was like the buzz all over eBay was someone's breaking up and selling 96 Mirror Gold. And I'm like, okay. And I had a fairly big number for me in mind, and it just went way above. I'm like, so I don't think I'm ever going to get one of them. I wouldn't be surprised if that goes. They go for probably $1,000. I mean, it's and some of the other Hall of Famers like 2,000-3,000. It's just nuts because they buy them and they're in private collections. They rarely get resold. So I have two of the three crown jewels. So
that's nice.
Yeah, can you believe that I pulled a gold in 1996 out of Select Certified? I didn't pull the Wade Boggs, but I pulled a Paul Molitor card.
Hey, that's
nice.
Do you still have it?
No, I sold it maybe a year or two ago. I should have kept it. I think I got it graded and sold it for over $400 to a guy in Minnesota. So I'm sure I could track it down again. I still have the picture somewhere. But yeah, it was pretty wild. And those packs were not cheap even at that time. I mean, they were 96, they were at least $5 a pack. So
probably
to be able to get one was,
and you probably got four or five cards in it. Something like that.
Yeah. Pack, so. All right, Ray, what else we got here?
Well, speaking of memorabilia items, do you have some things that you want to show? What are some of your favorite Wade Boggs pieces?
Yeah, I've just a couple other cards, and I'll show my favorite piece of memorabilia. Again, with almost 5,200, it's hard to pick favorite cards, but the ones I just showed there were like sort of the crown jewels that a Boggs player collector would want. I picked like 2 memorabilia cards and 2 autograph cards. So this one is from 2012 Topps Tier 1 Bat Knob, 1 of 1, with his 26 from the Red Sox. So I just love that. I mean, it is a really small sliver of his bat knob there, but I've always enjoyed this one. And just aesthetically, this one here from 2004 SP.
Oh, nice.
It's numbered out of 10, and I think that is a Jackie Robinson commemorative patch. And it's a sticker autograph, but just that purple, which and you wouldn't think purple with Red Sox would say. That's just the gold foil, just absolutely gorgeous. I love the design of that card. Right. And then for autos, this is from 2019. Allen and Ginter X, the mini autograph gold.
In
autograph.
gold, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, that card just pops. Love his that portrait picture. This one's out of 5, I believe.
Right. That's really
then,
nice with the black background too.
Yeah. Then the last one is from 2017 museum collection.
Right.
This one, I'm not sure if it's gonna show up on the camera there, but that shine there around that border, the image is just, I love that image, that follow through of Boggs. Silver ink autograph. It's out of 5. Really nice.
Yeah.
It's the black border version. It just, every time I see it, I just stare at it. So that's some of my top cards. But in terms of memorabilia, it has to be. Now I have a game used bat of autographed, and it says game used, of his when he was with the Devil Rays. I have a game used bat signed, says game used, of Yankees. I also have one of the Red Sox.
Nice.
And I'll show it here, and I may need to move it around a little bit, but there it says Wade Boggs, says game used Boston, game used Red Sox Hall of Fame. But look at that pine tar.
Yeah.
I mean, it is still like sticky, and then by the handle. I mean, and I don't think
that'd make George Brett jealous.
Yeah, and there's the 26.
Yeah.
And it just this epitomizes how Boggs treated his bat with all the pine tar and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just a gorgeous example. His B349 dates, I think it dates from after his batting title years, maybe a 90, 91, early 90s. And I got that for a steal based on what they go for now. But I mean, price or value, regardless, that's just, I love that game used bat.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. How about any autographed baseballs? I'm sure you got a ton of autographed baseballs of Wade Boggs.
Yeah, I have yet to have a personalized autographed ball. So if national, maybe next year, crossing my fingers, maybe I'll have him do an autographed ball. But here's one that has multiple. Sorry, has multiple stats.
Nice.
On it, 12 times All-Star, and I don't know if that'll show up there in the camera, maybe not, but there we go. But just a multi stat ball. So yeah, that's I have really awesome. three or 4 autographed balls.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how do you think like Wade Boggs, if he was 30 years younger, would play in today's game?
Well, I think he did. That's a good question. I think he'd do well, and the reason being is, even toward the end of his career, I mean, he faced batters like Randy Johnson. Even though it was I don't know how well Boggs did, but it's not. It's hard comparing players in different generations. I'm sure there were flamethrowers in the 50s and 60s, but did those batters have to face pitchers who constantly, even relievers, starting pitchers, relievers, constantly throwing heat in the mid to high 90s? I don't know, but I think Boggs played late enough to where the pitchers were just, a lot of them started throwing heat and stuff, and he still did well. Yeah. So I think he would still be, I don't know how many batting titles he'd win, but again, these days, with everyone swinging for the fences, you could some of the people winning batting titles, I know, some of them had to get up to 360 and stuff, but a 330 for some of these years could win a batting title
easily.
I think you do good in this environment.
So do I. Yeah,
I agree, especially with modern equipment. Nice bats and gloves, and just modern medicine and sports medicine, and and he played till I think
was cut. Reason why he retired in '99. I mean, he was having knee problems and stuff, and even though he was, I think, 40, 41 maybe when he retired. He was hampered in some of his later years with some knee problems and stuff. And who knows whether that would have been managed better with today's physio and stuff like that. I don't know, but
yeah, but I think once a hitter, always a hitter, especially a contact hitter.
Yeah, if you have the eye, if you have a good eye for the ball in the strike zone and can wait on that ball, which Wade did. I mean, he balanced his weight so he could foul off a fastball or a curveball or a breaking ball because he kept his balance. No matter how fast he could time, he could get the timing down. Yeah. Whether you're throwing 97 or this pitcher's only throwing 92. I think he would have been fine in today's environment. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So like advice for someone that, is inspired today to start, super collecting a player. So can you just respond to that?
Yeah. And that's a good question for those that are looking out there. I think the main key is you have to have a connection to that player, whether you just love how he plays. Oh, he hustles, or he, did great, or, great hitter, contact hitter, or batting average, or he hits a lot of home runs, whatever you enjoy. Maybe it's from your favorite team. Maybe he's a hometown player, but you have to have some sort of connection. You can't just say, well, everyone's collecting Joe Smith, so I want to collect Joe Smith. Because if you're not invested in it, you'll eventually lose interest, and then you're like, move on, and okay, well, do I sell these now and move to someone else, or who do I want? So again, I had that early connection. Once I said, hey, Wade Boggs, I was like, yeah, okay, I like Wade because of this and this and this and this, and I was invested. So the first thing is find someone who you're mentally invested in. All right. Then the second one comes down to money. Okay. Everyone has a budget. Now, is it going to be more expensive if you say, I want to become a super collector of Mike Trout versus I want to be a super collector of Roberto Alomar? I just throw. I mean, there are certain levels of players in terms of the hobby popularity and number of cards. I think, I mentioned that my checklist has 10,000 or so Wade Boggs cards, and some of them are oddball stuff. But I'm sure there are players out there like a Cal Ripken. I think his check like over 20. It must be over 20,000 cards. It was ridiculous. So again, if you're starting out going, okay, there's 20,000, and you may say, hey, it'll be easy for me because there's plenty of cards for me to get. Or you may say, hey, you know what? Here's a somewhat obscure player. Maybe has 100, 200 cards made of him. Maybe I'll go collect that player. The downside to that is if it's a somewhat unknown player, maybe harder to find, people won't look on eBay as much. So budget plays a part, and you have to think, okay, what's the competition out there? What are some of those cards going for? Now, if I want to be a Derek Jeter super collector, what's it going to take just to get one autograph card?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to consider.
I have over 700 certified autographed Wade Boggs cards.
Wow.
If that was Derek Jeter, I'd be paying off my mortgage twice with the amount of money I'd be spending, right? So, so it comes down to getting invested into that player emotionally, and then the budget to be able to collect that player. I think those are two main keys. Right.
I noticed you did a video back on the card catalog cabinet behind you. That looks just great. I mean, is that completely filled up now, or do you still have some space left?
No, I have half of it filled, and about almost two rows of the next column. Those are reserved for just my Wade Boggs cards.
Right.
And they work. I always thought that would be a great way to store cards, and then a local library was moving locations.
Right.
And they had an auction.
Right.
And I heard that they were having some for an auction, and I'm like, okay, it was in the middle of summer, hot. I didn't bring any money with me to buy a hot dog or drink or something. I'm standing there, and it's literally the last auction lot of the day. And because I didn't know when stuff was coming up, so I'm waiting. Anyway, long story short, I won the entire thing. They did it by section, and I won the bid, and I said, I'm going to take all of them. And all these antique dealers who were hoping that who's this guy? He's going to buy one. They were floored. Like they were all disappointed that I took all of them. But I was like, I'm done. I'd take all of them. I'm done. Where do I pay? I want to get out of here. Yeah. It worked out. It worked out great. It fits It doesn't fit PSA graded. It's
Slab,
just
yeah.
look, but Beckett graded slabs are a little bit shorter, and obviously magnetics and top loaders and stuff fits it perfectly. It's just
Right.
it's great.
That's
And
good.
it looks cool too. So.
How many pieces? How many sections is it? 4?
There are 6, so I think I have 90 shelves.
That's awesome. I love that. I love card catalog cabinets. Anything like that to store cars, I think, is a great idea. It's vintage looking.
Yeah,
Just looks great.
Do you organize them by like the year or the brand? Like, how do you know where stuff is?
yeah. I have it by set, and then just like my checklist, it's so again I can follow my spreadsheet and know where to find it. So it's by year, then by make, and if there's multiple, like if then card number. So yeah. If you tell me to pull my 2003 blah blah blah, I can get it to you in like 30 seconds. So
nice.
That's awesome.
Now my other cards in my collection,
yeah,
somewhat random boxes. I'm like, oh shoot, where's that card? And I'm rummaging through, but I do need to do a better job than I currently have. But yeah,
that room is just unbelievable. I see the autographed jerseys back there. They're autographed, right? The jerseys.
Yeah, I wish they were game used, but they're not. But I have let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5. 2 of them you can't see back there. They're 2 at Tampa Bay. So I have 5 personally autographed jerseys signed by Wade. In fact, very very quick story. I went to one of those Yankee Paloozas in New Jersey and had Wade sign Yankees home jersey. Right. So we're talking, we're chatting, and I think it was the time that he got a new dog, and I had a similar dog. Or so we were chatting about something, and he's like, "How do you want me to endorse it?" He's great. He's like, "What do you want me to put?" And I'm like, "Oh, to John, a great fan," or whatever. So he's doing this, and we're talking. He goes, "Hey, thanks." I'm like, "Hey, thank you." Shake his hand, and we go to leave. I go all the way home, and I go to take a picture of it to post it on social media, and I'm looking at it, and I go, he forgot to sign it.
Oh, jeez.
He put all the notation, and we were just chatting and stuff. He goes, "Hey, here you go." And I tweeted to Wade. I said, "Hey, Wade, yeah, we just got to talking, and you did the inscription, but you forgot to sign it." He goes, "Oh, my bad." I said, "Hey, can I send it down to you?" And he lives in Florida. "Can I send it down to you?" He goes, send it down to me. I'll sign it, no problem, and stuff. So I sent it down. He got it back to me, and
nice.
So. Yeah,
that's a good guy. Yeah. That sounds definitely like a good guy.
Yep. So you've met him a few times, but did you ever see him like play at Fenway Park or Yankee Stadium or like live in the 90s or 80s?
Well, I went to a bunch of Boggs fans from pretty much across the country. There was someone from Florida, Michigan, Illinois, and I think another state. When we heard that the Red Sox were finally going to retire Wade's number in 2016. As soon as we heard, we're like, we're buying tickets, we're going. Just all of us. So some of them drove out, some of them flew out, whatever. And so it was May 26th, very fitting because 26 was his jersey number. Mm-hmm. May, the 5th month, which is the third base spot, 2016. So we all went to that game. So I didn't see him play, but I saw him get his number retired. And I think I've gone to 2 or 3 games when I was much younger, when we'd go up to visit my grandparents. They lived about 2 or 3 hours outside of Boston, but we went in a couple years. And I think somewhere I have a ticket stub from 1986. So I did see him play, and the other years were probably maybe 90 or 80, 84, maybe 85. So maybe right around his early days. But again, I wasn't focused on him. I was focused on the Red Sox and all that stuff, but not him in particular. So yeah, I saw him play, but do I remember that game in '86 because I was really into Wade Boggs? No. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Definitely.
All right, Ray. Any other questions you've got? I think we've went through all the ones we wrote down.
Yeah, we did. I mean, this was a lot of fun. Just staring. I'm just staring at the backdrop. Really. I mean, I'm just like amazed. I really love the card catalog and the jerseys. You meticulously, obviously, spent a lot of time with this, and you deserve all the credit in the world for doing such a great job on this room and your collection. It's just awesome.
Thanks. You should see. You should have seen the paper that when I outlined, because I said, okay, I have so many frames at this space, and I said, okay, I have 60 inches to work with here. What can I put here? I mean, I've used literally almost every inch of space, and I'm out of room. So my wife says, well, that's a good opportunity for you to stop buying. I'm like, no, I'm building a house. I'm getting my basement. I'm pre-buying for my basement. So there's stuff that's still posters and wrapped up and all that stuff that I can't put up yet.
Oh,
but
God.
I've been married for 10 years, so I wouldn't recommend you like take down a picture of her off the wall and put Wade up. You should definitely not do that.
It doesn't go beyond this room. So she's like, fine, just stack it in there. And we have the rest of the house is a Boggs free zone. So.
That's the way it goes. Yeah.
And it's kind of way with me. I have these a couple bookcases and a closet over here that has all of my stuff in it. So it's kind of out of the way of her craftiness and all that stuff throughout the house. So that's
cool. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Well, we appreciate you being on, John. It was a lot of fun checking into your collection and learning a lot about Wade Boggs and what you put into it. So once again, we were really thankful for you coming on. We really appreciate it. So
it was my pleasure. Thanks for the invite. It was great to be on. Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys. We appreciate you checking out another Sports Car Talk episode number 15. And we just want to say happy holidays out there to everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and most importantly, stay safe out there. From myself and Mike, this Baseball Card Life, thanks for tuning in. We had a great year this year. We got a lot more episodes coming up. So thank you, John. Mike, happy holidays to you, buddy. John, happy holidays to you. And we appreciate you tuning in. Like I always say, have fun with your collection. Take care, guys.